What's up? This your boy Cass. I'm from Fly in the Town U92 to my boy Petey Mac.
Yo, what's up everybody? It's your boy Petey Mac, and I'm back once again to bring you another episode of Real Talk with Petey Mac. I mean, it's been crazy in the news. We've had another earthquake down in Mexico. It's like the third earthquake within like 3 months. I mean, they said it was 7.3 magnitude. They said it was so bad that the skyscrapers in Los Angeles were actually shaking. I mean, I don't know what else to say, but they might be right about the 2012 prediction. I'm just going to tell you guys like my man Scarface said in one of his hit songs, if you ain't at peace with God, you better patch it up, or whoever you believe in. On to the sporting world. I'm cheesing, y'all see me cheesing. I'm happy because the Duke Blue Devils are the 2010 national champs. After a hard-fought game with Butler, they pulled it out 61-59. Congrats, Duke. Congrats, Mike Krzyzewski. I mean, I'm just going crazy as a Cameron crazy. You know what I'm saying? Big ups to Butler, though, because you guys kept me on the edge of my seats the entire game. No one went on runs. I mean, I was on the edge of my seat from tip-off all the way into the final buzzer sound at the end of the second half. But, like I told you, the last episode I did, that's an example of what I was talking about. See how they hustle in college basketball? Okay, now on to what I told you guys last week. I told you this week that I was going to talk about black movies from 1990 all the way up. I know when some of you are asking why about 1990, because, well, everybody knows the history of black people in movies before 1990. From the time movies started in like the early 1900s to about maybe the 50s or the 60s, we were always perceived as the dumb idiots that couldn't do anything without the help of a white person, or we was always there to help them, or we always managed to help them out with the situation they were going through, and we got absolutely no credit for. Then comes the 60s, and you know, all we was allowed to do was sing and dance. Basically, Harry Belafonte, Dorothy Dandridge, Lena Horne. The only man who did do something, stepped outside of a box, was Sidney Poitier, who played Virgil Tears very, very brilliantly in the 1976 movie In the Heat of the Night. And I know he shocked a lot of people when he slapped that white man in his house, because my mama told me they didn't know how to react when they went and saw him. They said they didn't know what to do. They didn't know what to cheer. They didn't know whether to be shocked. So, in the 70s, of course, you guys know about the 70s. That's when you had movies like The Mac and Superfly and Dolomite and Willie Dynamite come out, and a less-known movie of JD's Revenge that stars Glenn Turman, most of you know as the Colonel on A Different World. You know, blaxploitation, that was nothing but pimps and junkies and drug pushers and prostitutes, you know. Then the 80s came, and the 80s is really what took off for us, what made black cinema take off. But I noticed in the 80s that a lot of people that was really getting quality film roles were people of blacks of a lighter hue. It wasn't dark-skinned blacks weren't really getting anything except for the roles that they had been getting in the previous years, a pimp, a drug dealer, somebody who was dumb, you know. Big ups to, but this brought about new directors like Robert Towns. He had a movie from 1987, Hollywood Shuffle, that shows the stereotypical roles. It was a satire about the stereotypical roles black people take in Hollywood. I advise you to go see that, and he was very determined to get out because this man paid for the funding of this film with his credit card. Man must have had a high limit. 1988, that brought about another comical genius who's known for making spoof movies. Keenan Ivory Reigns with I'm Gonna Get You Sucker. And even then, he was putting his whole family in his movies. And then in 1989, my man Spike Lee well, actually been around since 1986 he had She's Gotta Have It. Then in 1988 he created School Days, which shows the portrait of how HBCU life was, how we, even though we are one as a people, we're really not as one as a people. I advise you, if you're going to college, especially at HBCU, to go pick that movie up. And then, not only that, in 1989, he also came back strong with Do the Right Thing, which, in my opinion, set it off for movies of hip-hop, because, I mean, it had its own little style. He had his high top fade. You heard music by Public Enemy. You saw the Jordans. You know, that was the first time people really knew it was really a bad thing to step on black man's Jordans and not have any consequence or repercussion. And then he knew what he was doing, because in 1989, that was the first year that a Grammy was given for rappers. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Will Smith, who was known as the Fresh Prince at that time, took home the Grammy. But here we go. I'm finna take you guys from 1990 all the way up to the present with black movies. Here we go. Like I said with Spike Lee, he really jump-started. Now, even though Do the Right Thing came out in 89, that set the stage for the 90s, because 1990 to like 1992 was the age of hip-hop movies. It was introducing hip-hop to mainstream America. I know what you're saying. Well, they did that with Beat Street and Crush Groove and all the breaking movies. Yeah, that was the earlier form of hip-hop. I'm talking about what is considered, from 1988 was, for those who don't know, was the launch of the modern hip-hop movement. So 1990 was them bringing the modern hip-hop movement to mainstream America's attention. And one movie that really set this off was House Party. House Party is a cult classic. Everybody loves House Party. Black, white, everybody can sit there and quote at least 10 lines from House Party, if not the whole movie. I mean, House Party showed what it was like to be part of the hip-hop generation and go to a party during the hip-hop generation. You know, the styles of the hip-hop generation. You know, some do's and don'ts of the hip-hop generation at a house party, you know. Another movie that came out was Mo Better Blues by Spike Lee. A lot of you may argue, no, it wasn't really hip-hop, but yes, it was, because you can tell by the styles, not when they was going to the club, but styles when they was off on their leisure time. A lot of those guys had high top fades, you know. A lot of them was sporting the Nike high tops, you know what I mean. And if you guys didn't know, a lot of people may argue this, hip-hop really is a derivative of jazz. It came from jazz. Little do you want to say it came from jazz. And you can still use that with some people, because some people still use jazz instrumentals for their songs. Another movie that came out, it's not really hip-hop classic. Well, it is to me, because you hear hip-hop songs all the way through it and see hip-hop styles, and it's Kings of New York with Christopher Walken, Larry Fishburne, who you guys know as Lawrence Fishburne now, Wesley Snipes, David Caruso, who is Horatio Kane from CSI Miami. Yes, Horatio Kane has been on the block for a minute. You know, they show like what it was like to be a gangster during the hip-hop era, you know, where Larry Fishburne did. He showed what it was like to be a gangster during hip-hop. And even they always had a lot of songs, like even during that big infamous shootout scene, Am I Black Enough For You by Schoolie D, you know. Then I go to 1991. You got House Party 2, which really, you know, is another thing. They were showing you more of the hip-hop culture and what it was like to throw a party at school, at college, which really HBCU, they just didn't tell you that in the movie. And made me want to go have a pajama party. And to this day, I still want to have a pajama party like that on House Party. You had New Jack City, which is definitely a hip-hop classic, because it showed you what hip-hop was like on the East Coast and all the East Coast styles. I mean, the party scene, the New Year's Eve party scene in itself was telling you about the styles. You know, you had guys dressing up like twins with the funny colored rayon and silk shirts. You know, girls with the door knocker earrings and the big hair, the high top fades. I don't know who taught Wesley Snipes and getting that high top fade with the mohawk on top. I mean, but that's what you like. That's what you like.